Let's start with breaking Jimmy Kimmel news. Kimmel, dominant figure in the news. Kimmel versus Trump. Sinclair, one of the major affiliate, what do we call them? Affiliate owners, station owners, something like
Yeah.
that.
Station.
They have announced that they're going to resume airing Jimmy Kimmel. They had stopped as part of their reaction to his comment about who killed Charlie Kirk. Now, Kimmel was briefly suspended by Disney. He was let back on the air after some backlash, mostly on the lefty side. And were you surprised, Ryan? Were you surprised by how many people watched Kimmel and how many people watched on YouTube? I haven't looked at it recently, but it got to 8 figures rather quickly.
No, when you texted me privately how many people are going to watch, and I said a lot on Tuesday, and then it's going to taper off. And I would say I don't know what the numbers were Wednesday yet. Thursday wouldn't be out for a couple hours, but given that we didn't hear about Wednesday numbers, I would surmise that they didn't shatter any meter. But no, I think look, there was a lot of intrigue about what he was going to say when he came back. Would he apologize? Would he be defiant? There was no apology, so uh, I don't know.
Well, there's kind of an apology. I mean, there's dispute over whether it was an apology. I think on the right, they're saying it was one of these, I'm sorry if you were offended apologies. He did, get choked up and cry about the Charlie Kirk killing. That's something. Uh, Before we get into all that, can we pull up the clip of Kimmel conveying why so many people were suddenly watching? I found it to be very interesting and perhaps the most memorable part of his Tuesday monologue.
Ratings. Well, I do tonight.
Okay. Let's pull the clip. That's enough applause. That's enough applause. We get the idea. Pull the clip. I mean, I'm not mad at the clip. He harnessed that controversy expertly in that particular context, and he was more right than I even knew. I think getting over 6 million people watching, pretty astounding. I mean, that's like
It's about 4 times his average.
4 times his average. It's almost like a Western Conference Finals in the NBA, if they're lucky at this point these days. The YouTube numbers rather explosive, and that's correct. Trump going against him fuels the ratings. It pumps it up. But now this gets to the business side, because I've talked some Kimmel in the free speech context. We had Mike Pesca on last week when this story was initially breaking, and who's offended and all of that. But let's start looking at this from just a business perspective, because that's what I bring you on to do. What the hell do you do if you're Disney? Kimmel is continuing to pound Trump. That's part of the juice for him. He's not really relenting. Disney appears desperate not to be seen as a partisan company and to get out of the culture wars, and they've been thrust back into it. What the hell should they or will they do?
Well, I think that one of the reasons that he got brought back so fast is in 10 years ago they might have been much more impervious to political backlash on either side because their business was kind of baked in with the ESPN sub fees driving a lot. I mean, I don't know that there was any case of people wouldn't boycott their movies or boycott going to Disney World now. But now we live in a world, and it kind of started with I think it probably started first with the NFL, actually, with the Kaepernick kneeling.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there was conservative boycotts of that. Then there's been conservatives have really actively tuned out the NBA, and I don't care what they say, they have. And conservatives boycotted Bud Light. But then we've started to see some like liberal boycotts work. I think so conservatives boycotted Target over like a lot of like the pride and other kind of, for lack of a better word, woke stuff.
Mm.
And so then Target was like, okay, we're rolling back pride, we're rolling back DEI. And then the liberals started boycotting Target. And this is actually something that has happened in my household. My wife is black. She's shopped for all the kids' clothes at Target, probably spent, I don't know, close to 10 grand a year at Target. Like it's a substantial lot of money. She went cold turkey and has not been back since they rolled back DEI. And so I don't know if I would have even like believed that the left boycott of Target was making any type of like dent in them until, literally it hit home. But I like those boycotts, like, they can cancel Disney Plus and Hulu and not do a $25,000 Disney World vacation. And there is like that, it's like a real concern for Disney.
I mean, where are Americans spending their money at this point? If both sides are currently boycotting all of these major companies, where is the money going? I have to wonder. Now, I mean, I think that there's this resistance, pardon the pun, to acknowledging that these boycotts can do damage based on your political ideology. I remember when conservatives first started boycotting sports leagues, there was this pushback from Team Blue, the journalists, saying this isn't taking an effect. They would never stop watching the NFL. Even as I was watching the viewership needle point downward, there's this
Went down like 20%.
it was pretty crazy. And there's this I think inclination to deny the power of your enemy in making these companies bend, because if you acknowledge the power of the enemy in making the companies bend, then that's more fuel for the company to listen to people. I think it is a serious consideration on Disney's side to worry about people on the left when they bounced Kimmel. I do. I think that
Absolutely.
they're between a rock and a hard place.
Like the what percentage of Disney Plus like direct to consumer subscribers are left leaning? It's got to be what, like 75%?
You think 75? I don't know. I'd probably go 60, but how the hell would we know? The point is it's a lot. The point is it's
they know.
They know. They know. And they put him back on for a reason. Now, to what you're saying, what I find interesting, I feel as though conservatives boycotted first because they needed to be heard. I think on the lefty side, in the social media era earlier, they didn't need to boycott because once something was an outrage, they had enough people who saw the world similarly in the room, in the C-suite, making decisions at these companies, that the decisions just got made. And if there
the steamrollers don't need to boycott ants.
Yeah, well, there you go. And so now that the Target thing happened and the Bud Light thing happened, there's a recognition that this is just how you have to be heard. And it happens. I think Disney had to actually worry about it. But on the other side, as I've written on houseofstrauss.com, subscribe today, folks, there's a fake threat in lieu of a real threat that they have to worry about from the right, that Disney has to worry about. The fake threat is what Trump is blustering about. This idea that, oh, I'm going to pull your FCC license. I'm going to pull ABC's FCC license. That's really hard to do. You need to get it through the courts. I don't think that would be successful. But it's almost as though he's barking that fake threat to obscure the real threat that you're not supposed to say, the legitimate threat, which is mergers, how Team Trump is in charge of which media companies get to merge together and win this game for not just hearts and minds, but also eyeballs and attention. And so that's the real leverage currently that the Trump administration has. I don't say it like I'm supporting it or I'm even against it. I'm just saying it descriptively, that this is the
it's
world
an
we're now.
empirical fact.
Yeah.
Look, that he exacted a pound of flesh out of CBS and 60 Minutes in order to allow the Skydance acquisition of Paramount to go through. And by the way, the Skydance people are big supporters of his. And he was making them wait until he exacted the flesh from the people that they were swallowing up. And so, to your point, Disney has this acquisition that they want to do of NFL Network. And, it also involves licensing of Red Zone brand and linear
distribution
of Red Zone and fantasy football assets, but mainly it is the purchase of NFL Network, and we are at front office. Michael McCarthy, my colleague, did a story where Ari Fleischer, the ex press secretary for George W. Bush, so this is a guy who is in the Republican kind of circles for a long time. It's like, yeah, Trump is going to hold this up. It's quote political catnip. And so it's interesting that his threats were about things that really aren't under his control. And by the way, you wrote about this, but the FCC, Brendan Carr, whatever,
Yeah,
Carr,
Brandon.
going after ABC was the biggest unforced error in a long time,
Yeah.
because then it actually does bring into the question free speech. Like, Nexstar and Sinclair are their own businesses, and they can preempt Jimmy Kimmel, whatever, subject to their own contracts, and that doesn't have anything to do with government protected free speech. But once the FCC gets involved, then all of a sudden you turn him into like an actual legitimate martyr. And so it was like just a really stupid thing for them to do at that moment of time when the tide was already really like gonna swallow him.
That's completely true. And I think part of it is when people in Trump's coalition try to act like Trump, it doesn't work. Trump is sui generis. He can say wild things, and there will be people who react to it with this literalness, but a lot of us won't. But when a government official goes on a podcast, and I believe he was revved up because he was on a partisan podcast, and he says that ABC can do this the easy way or the hard way, that's just not something that should be said. And there's this reality behind the scenes, but just you're giving it this ugly shape that people can then marshal around, and it
It's like the
becomes this tool
Live
for Kimmel.
Nation CEO being like, yeah, concert tickets should be $70,000. What are
Yeah,
you doing? Like, why are
no,
you saying
it
that out loud?
doesn't. It's a bad, yeah, it was definitely a bad move. It was definitely an own goal. And I think that Kimmel has harnessed that. It was a gift to him while he was
Yeah,
at
and
his
it's
lowest
like,
point.
the most aggravating thing over the last week and a half, I think probably for both of us, although I don't necessarily want to speak for you, was like all of these new free speech advocates coming out of the woodwork. I'm like, I did not hear from you when AOC was saying deplatforming works, or Roseanne was getting fired from ABC, Gina Carano was getting fired from Disney, people were getting deplatformed from YouTube right and left. The sitting president of the United States got banned from Twitter.
Which
Uh,
Kimmel celebrated, to be sure.
and
And
he celebrated Roseanne getting fired. And so, like, this is not some type of like person who should have been made into a free speech martyr. It's just like I don't know, it's stupid.